Welcome back to DSR, and I want to do something a little bit different this time. I need to cleanse my palate after doing the pugilist for videos. I want to cover a subclass created by a fellow YouTube content creator. We connected a few months ago after I started my channel, and we've been kind of just friends, off, just via Discord, and support each other, and we chat about things now and then. And he likes to create subclasses and publish them on his Patreon. And it's Comrade Warner's. You may have seen some of his videos, or you might be subscribed to his channel as well. He's a cool dude, and I haven't read all the things he's published, but I've kind of looked at some things, and I've seen this one, and I like the work he does. It's miles, miles better than the Pugilist. So I am happy to cover this one, and if it helps him out a little bit, wonderful. And he's a good guy. So if you like to look at, if you like to get new subclasses and fresh homebrew ideas and all kinds of things like that, yeah, he's probably a great one to join his Patreon and get some of his published work. I think he does one every single month. So also, as of this recording, I'm sitting at 2,364 subscribers myself. I've just completed month 5. So February was the start of month 6. So I would love to get to 3,000 by the end of month 6, which would be the end of February, which is a little more than 3 weeks away, which is a crazy stretch goal. You know what? Small goals never inspired anyone. So if you like this kind of content and you want to help out a fellow D&D nerd or just a fellow nerd in general, I would love a like and subscribe. It helps way more than you might think. Thank you. And I guess I should say, Comrade Warner's has paid me nothing to do this. He's just a friend and a cool guy, and I would love to help him. And by the way, it's fun to just review cool stuff. So he did give me a free copy of this PDF, I guess. But that did not influence my comments in any way. And I told him what I was going to say in advance, or gave him a high-level view of it. And we discussed the mechanics and things like that. And he knows that, I've got a little bit of criticism, but we talked about that in advance, and I'm going to share those feelings and opinions I have exactly as is, regardless of, what my relationship with this person might be, or whether they've given me a free PDF, right? Okay. Like, I'll always give my honest opinion. I'll try to be nice, but I'll always give my honest opinion. So, yeah, first of all, great artwork. I did ask him about this. He said he pays an artist to do this for him, and this is good stuff. So I think the credit for the artist is at the end. So hopefully we'll catch that, because this artist deserves some credit. All right, first up, the Inquisitor Rogue. Uncover the truth with divine insight. Inquisitors are the sacred investigators of religious orders, trained to root out heresy and deception through divine magic and relentless pursuit of truth. They serve as the eyes of their faith, piercing through lies and illusions to expose hidden corruption. Where others see only shadows, the Inquisitor perceives the subtle signs of heresy, a misplaced word, a hidden symbol, a soul tainted by forbidden beliefs. They employ radiant strikes to punish the wicked and divine sight to reveal what is hidden, making them both revered and feared by the faithful and heretics alike. So, not quite the same flavor as the Inquisitive Rogue, right? Still investigative and things like that, but think more Spanish Inquisition and less detective, okay? But Spanish Inquisition is maybe one of the ways you could play this, right? And a bit, just be sure you're using safety tools at your table if you're going to use that reference. Some people may not be comfortable with that. But I do love the fantasies that you can live through this kind of a concept. The idea that you're a rogue associated with some kind of temple or god or divine order is an awesome idea. You could play this as part of a good pantheon of justice, right? And you're hunting down evildoers, kind of like a U.S. Marshal. You could play this as part of an evil pantheon where you just hunt down and you're a bounty hunter, or you're just hunt down and murder people. And you could play this every way in between. So I like that he gave enough flavor that you could get the idea, but not so much that you can't just come up with your own ideas to enhance this. Let's get into the mechanics, okay? Level 3. When you reach 3rd level, you gain the ability to cast spells. See Chapter 7 of the Player's Handbook for the rules on spell casting. The information below details how you use those rules as an Inquisitor. Cantrips. You know 2 cantrips, guidance, and 1 other cantrip of your choice from the cleric spell list. Whenever you gain a rogue level, you can replace one of your cantrips with another cleric cantrip of your choice. So you start with guidance, but you don't have to keep guidance. When you reach rogue level, and by the way, who wouldn't want to keep guidance, right? It's like the best cantrip to have. So, and you don't want attack cantrips. Like, don't think that, oh, I can get attack cantrips on this. Yes, you can, but you cannot use your sneak attack with attack cantrips except for True Strike, which is not on the cleric spell list. So I would get like utility cantrips from the cleric spell list. I would not get attack cantrips. I don't know. I can't think of anything that would be worth it, right? You need to make a weapon attack to trigger your sneak attack. That's what rogues are all about. Okay, at level 10, you learn another cleric cantrip of your choice, just like the Eldritch Knight, just like the Arcane Trickster. Spell slots, the Inquisitor spellcasting table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your level 1 plus spells. You regain all expended spell slots when you finish a long rest. The table is identical to the Arcane Trickster and the Eldritch Knight, so great. Prepared spells of level 1 plus, you prepare the list of level 1 plus spells that are available for you to cast with this feature. To start, choose 3 level 1 cleric spells. Bless, Detect Evil and Good, and Healing Word are recommended. And by the way, I appreciate that the spells he recommended are actually ones that are worth taking. Like Bless is a good spell to have. You might want to have that on your rogue. You might want to, and it's good in the party. If somebody else in the party has it, then maybe you don't get Bless because it's better for you to use your action to attack. But if nobody has it, Bless might be worth your action to start off a combat. Healing Word, always great to have by anybody in the party, right? Detect Good and Evil, maybe not super strong, but it is useful. It is a ritual, and it is thematic for this whole class's theme, okay? Or subclass's theme. The number of spells on your list increases as you gain rogue levels as soon as the prepared spells column of the Inquisitor spellcasting table. As shown. Whenever that number increases, choose additional cleric spells until the number of spells on your list matches the number in the table. The chosen spells must be of a level for which you have spell slots. Changing your prepared spells. Whenever you gain a rogue level, you can replace one spell on your list with another cleric spell for which you have spell slots. Spellcasting ability. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for cleric spells. Spellcasting focus. You can use a simple or martial weapon as a spellcasting focus for your cleric spells. Wonderful. I love that. He could have added listed a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus as well, but frankly, it's unnecessary. Like one of the best reasons to have access to the holy symbol is that you can put it on a shield, but rogues can't use shields, or they don't have training in shields. So unnecessary, and you are definitely going to be holding weapons, so you can use your simpler martial weapon as your spellcasting focus anyway. You're set. Our second feature at level 3 is Divine Inquiry. You are trained in the theological and investigative methods of uncovering heresy. You gain proficiency in the investigation and religion skills. If you already have proficiency in either skill, you gain expertise in that skill instead. Sweet. Because of reliable talent, rogues love skill proficiencies, like way more than any other class, right? It is great for the rogue to get as many skill proficiencies as possible. Interestingly, kind of the opposite of bards, right? You may think, oh, I want tons of skill proficiency on bards, but bards have jack of all trades, which gives them half proficiency in everything. So when you get proficiency, in a skill, when you're level 1 to 4, which all you're getting is one more, right? You already have a +1, and getting the proficiency now gives you one more. So it helps, but not that much. The value of investing in getting more skills as a bard is very low. With rogues, it's quite the opposite. Getting another skill proficiency is a huge deal because at level 7, anything you're proficient in, whenever you roll an ability check with anything you're proficient in, you automatically can't roll less than a 10 on the die, right? So you roll that d20, and if you roll 1 to 9, it automatically becomes a 10. Then you add modifiers on top of that. So if you're proficient, you're talking level 7, you're at the very least talking 10 plus 3, unless you have a 8 in that ability score. Let's say you just have a 10 in everything, right, at least, which means you don't have any negatives. So your minimum roll on anything you're proficient in when you're level 7 and have reliable talent is a 13, which beats not only easy, but what's the next category above easy? I can't remember what they call it. Easy is a DC 5, and then there's like medium, which is DC 10, and then there's like kind of hard, which is DC 15. Okay, so you're going to auto succeed on anything that's medium, any ability check that's a medium difficulty. By the way, you only need a 15 to succeed at stealth. right? You're 2 points away from succeeding in stealth, and that's if you have a 10 dexterity, right? And nobody, no self-respecting rogue has a 10 dexterity, okay? All right. So getting 2 skill proficiencies is fantastic, and upgrading them to expertise if you're already proficient in those, love it. But wait, there's more. Additionally, you learn the Divine Favor spell. You can cast it once without expending a spell slot, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. When you cast Divine Favor, it doesn't require verbal or somatic components, and your weapon attacks can deal your choice of Radiant or its normal damage type. Okay, my gut reaction was, whoa, that's too much to steal one of the paladins, like unique spells and all these kind of things. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, this is fine. I think this is fine, right? The rogues don't have extra attack. This is Divine Favor is a good spell. I think it's way underutilized by players. I rarely see players using it, but I think it's a good spell. But it is not like a highly used spell, right? If this were Divine Smite, I would take exception to that. I think Divine Smite would be too much. But Divine Favor, it actually works okay, and you cast it basically without any spell components because it doesn't have material, so it has no spell components. So even though it counts as a spell, nobody can counterspell it. Nobody can hear it. It doesn't set anything off. Nobody knows you're doing it. So you can still do it while being hidden, and this won't break your hidden state. Maybe unnecessary to say that you can choose radiant damage for it or the normal weapon damage type. Almost always you don't want radiant. I mean, not always, but almost always. So fine. That's fine. It's not a bad thing to put that on there. And I like it, right? Especially that it encourages you to try to lean into being a dual wielding rogue, right? I like that about it, right? Because if you don't dual wield or 2-weapon fight as a rogue, then you only have 1 attack, and Divine Favor doesn't actually do very much, right? You're talking spending your bonus action to get plus 1d4 to damage once per turn, once per round. Not worth it. But if you're a 2-weapon fighting rogue and you lean into the whole being a melee rogue and getting like reaction attacks from Sentinel or Zentarum Tactics, and you have a reaction attack for another attack once per round, then you're looking at, and you get, say, use the Nick Mastery, get the Nick Mastery, and you get the dual wielder feat. That's 3 attacks on your turn, and 1 more attack as a reaction. So you're triggering that 4 times in a round. So that's 4 instances of damage from Divine Favor. Not bad. And I like that this incentivizes that kind of playstyle. I see rogue players all the time trying to live this fantasy of being a dual wielding rogue and then being disappointed by it because they do massive damage with their first hit that is a sneak attack. And then everything else is like 3 to 5 damage, and they're just like, ugh. And I see the disappointment on their face. So adding a little damage from Divine Fury is, it's another 2.5 damage on average to each attack. So this is not going to break anything, but it does increase that damage they're doing on average, which is 3 to 5 to, 5.5 to 7.5. Okay. It makes it feel more worthwhile to be trying to make those extra attacks. So I like it. Well done, Comrade Warners. Let's move on to level 9. So Unyielding Interrogator. Your training and interrogation techniques give you a bonus to your charisma, deception, intimidation, and persuasion checks. The bonus equals your wisdom modifier plus 1. Wisdom modifier minimum of plus 1. You also learn Zone of Truth spell. When you cast it, you can do so without verbal somatic components. Additionally, a creature has disadvantage on its saving throws against this spell if it has the grappled, incapacitated, stunned, or restrained condition. And I think that's it for level 9. Yeah. I like it. Okay. That bonus to your charisma checks with those skills is the same as what the Fey Wanderer Ranger gets. And it's and the Fey Wanderer Ranger uses wisdom bonus to it as well. So that's good. So this is not anything the Fey Wanderer Ranger gets. In fact, I think the Fey Wanderer Ranger, it's even phrased more generously. I think the Fey Wanderer Ranger says you get the bonus to any charisma check you make, not limited to these skills. So this is not OP. You learn Zone of Truth, so you get a free spell preparation. You don't get to cast this one for free, so you're going to have to use spell slots. Fortunately, you do get second level spell slots at level 7, so you're going to use a spell slot on this. When you cast it, you do so without verbal or somatic components. Great. You can initiate it without breaking your stealth or anything like that, or anybody, any chance of somebody counter spelling you. Although I wouldn't use Zone of Truth in combat, it doesn't make a lot of sense. This would be like you've got you're interrogating somebody, right? Still kind of chilling that you can turn this on without the appearance of casting a spell. Like that would be intimidating, which is what you'd be going for in this kind of a situation. So I love it, right? We're not just doing another like damage uh, enhancing feature here. We are doing non-combat stuff, leaning into the interrogator, investigator aspect of this class. And the fact that it has disadvantage on the saving throw against a spell if it's grappled, incapacitated, stunned, or restrained is awesome, right? Like you've got them tied up, and now you're going to interrogate them, and just because you have them tied up, they automatically have disadvantage on the save versus Zone of Truth. And it's not like Zone of Truth is like breaking anything, guys. It just means they can't lie. So they're going to have disadvantage on the spell that makes it so they can't lie. Great, like that's great for for the flavor of this class. I would say they went a little bit strong at level 3, and at level 9 it's a little less strong than the Arcane Trickster. And so kind of averages out between the two. I mean, actually, I think level 3 is quite a bit stronger than what the Arcane Trickster gets. But that's because the Arcane Trickster basically just gets a ribbon at level 3 besides their spell casting. So you get more than a ribbon at level 3. Level 9, it's a lot less than what the Arcane Trickster gets, but not useless, but really leans into the non-combat stuff going on here, which is excellent. And it's not like the, especially a spellcasting rogue, needs a ton of extra stuff, right? As proven by the Arcane Trickster. So, well done, Comrade Warners. Moving on to level 13, Truth Seeker's Gaze. You can take a magic action to gain X-ray vision with a range of 60 feet for 1 minute. To use, solid objects within radius appear transparent and don't prevent light from passing through them. The vision can penetrate 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, or up to 3 feet of wood or dirt. Thicker substances or a thin sheet of lead block the vision. Additionally, you also have advantage on investigation perception checks for the duration. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Okay, I like this. It's thematic. I love that it's more than just the exploration benefit of being able to see through walls. You also get, while it's running, advantage on investigation perception checks. Love it. I mean, you may not need that, right? If you have expertise in those, or even just proficiency, and you've got a decent intelligence, I don't know, 10 intelligence, and you probably want a high wisdom score because that's your spellcasting ability score. So if you've got like a 16 wisdom at this point, and then you've got reliable talent, like you're crushing those skill checks anyway and getting advantage on those, you can raise it a little bit more. So really, that advantage is not OP at all, right? It probably increased your chance of success by like 7% because you already had like an 80% chance to succeed, and now you're talking 87% chance to succeed. So nice, right? It's going to be impactful, but not breaking anything. And I love that you get to do this wisdom modifier number of times per day, and it restores on a long rest, right? Whenever you tie something to a secondary ability score, like you give a secondary ability score from a subclass to a class, you always want to make it feel more worthwhile to invest in that secondary ability score, right? Don't just give them one thing. Give them multiple things that all lean into that ability score. Now, you have spell casting, so kind of inherently, every other level or every 3 levels, you're getting something without even being listed here because of just the way spellcasting progresses. You're getting something that makes your secondary ability score investment more meaningful. But I still like it, right? The more you can lean into that secondary ability score, the better as far as I'm concerned. Level 17, Heretic's Bane. Your divine power reaches its zenith, allowing you to expose and punish heretics with unmatched precision. You gain the following benefits. Piercing Sight. You gain True Sight with a range of 60 feet. Empowered Favor. When you cast Divine Favor, the spell's bonus damage is 1d6 radiant damage instead of 1d4. Blinding Strike. When you use your obscure option from your Devious Strikes feature, you can impose the blinded condition without paying its die cost. I like it. True Sight at level 17 is not any kind of broken. There is a epic boon at level 19 you can get that just does that, and it's not even recommended as one of like the A tier epic boons, right? I'm not even sure it's B tier epic boon. I can't remember what I rated it, but it's not A. So that's nice, not OP. Um, Increasing your divine favor damage, I like it. I mean, I love the design when people implement things where they try to encourage a play style and they do the things, they give you mechanics right at level 3 to encourage that playstyle with your subclass, and then revisit it and revisit it and revisit it to continue to encourage it and build on top of that, right? So that's what he's doing here by increasing the damage die of divine favor. Instead of giving you like a whole new unrelated feature, he's increasing the damage die, so just making the thing you already got at level 3 more valuable. Love it. Blinding strike, again, revisiting one of your base class features that you got from devious strikes at level 14 and just making that better. Love it, right? That way it is enhancing something and giving you something more valuable, making you more powerful without creating new mechanics that you have to figure out, right? I know everybody loves the idea of like a bunch of new mechanics that are totally wild and crazy things. And you know what? I play lots and lots of high level content, right? I have at least one level 13 and one level 21 shot every single week that I DM, right? I don't play in those. I mean, anyway, I'm the DM. My regular weekly campaign has reached level 17. I see high level content at least 3 times a week. And even my really, really experienced players, and by the way, me too, I would have the same problem. My really experienced players struggle to keep track of all the mechanics that you have built up over all these levels, and then add in all these feats you have on top of that and keep track of it all, even in one turn, right? Like really experienced players get themselves tripped up with, oh, that doesn't work that way, or oh, I forgot I had that. Like everybody does it, even super experienced people who played for decades, okay? And I do too, right? I often talk about how, like, look, I've DM'd 11,000 hours of 5th edition, and I'm not saying I'm the best ever. There's people who've DM'd even more hours than I have, for sure, and people who are better DMs than I am, for sure. But based on player feedback, I use more of the rules than most DMs. I remember more of the rules than most DMs. I have an excellent memory for the rules, and I make at least one rule mistake, in every session. At least one. I mean, 3 or 4 is probably the average, right? Where I just misremember something, and so do all the really experienced players, right? Guys, you're kidding yourself if you think you can add a bunch of new, radically different mechanics and you're going to keep track of it. Nobody does. Nobody does. Okay, so I like this. The design is elegant. It's meaningful. It's not just one thing where it's like just damage, damage, damage. That pushes and encourages players far too much to treat every situation as combat, right? Like, oh, you're talking to a merchant. Well, let's see if we can negotiate and get what we want. And the merchant says, no, okay, let's kill him. I've seen that too many times, guys. And yes, when all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Okay, so I love it when you include mechanics that aren't just about combat. Yes, combat is a core pillar of the game. Yes, combat is probably half of every session. And if I'm doing the dungeon crawl one shots, it's 90% of every session by design. It is a huge part of the game, but it is not the whole game. It is not the only thing. So let's have mechanics that encourages other things. All right. So I actually really, really like this. And let me read you his designer notes. I love that he did this. I wish more people did this. It just helps to understand what they were going for, which can help you understand the mechanics and the theme and the flavor. It can also help you understand parts of it that bother you, I guess is the way I would put it. I think the pugilist would have greatly benefited from the designer just listing off, here's why I did this, here's why I did this, here's why I did this, right? Maybe I could have appreciated what they were doing better. I still think it would be grossly overpowered, but at least I would understand why better than just the fact that they're just like, I just want this thing to be the best thing ever, so let's just make it the best ever. Let's give it every feature. So I love that he did this. All right, designer notes. The Inquisitor is engineered to be a formidable melee combatant, leveraging its unique spellcasting to become a radiant damage engine. Its features also make it one of the game's most capable investigators and interrogators. Optimal combat strategy. The Inquisitor's damage potential shines in a dual-wielding build. By combining the Nick weapon mastery with a dual-wielder feat, you can execute a devastating 3-attack routine on your turn, 2 attacks with your attack action thanks to Nick, and a 3rd attack as a bonus action from the feat. When enhanced by Divine Favor, this combination applies to the bonus 1d4 or 1d6 at level 17. Radiant damage up to 3 times per turn, dramatically increasing your damage output, putting it on par with the other rogue subclasses, or 4 times per turn if you get a reaction attack. Right? Sentinel, Zentarm tactics. There's other ways. Just your regular opportunity attack. And you think he nailed that, right? Like that's the same thing I said, the same thing I had, so I could clearly read what his intention was as he went there. Spellcasting synergy. The power of Divine Favor cannot be overstated. It is a non-concentration bonus action spell, making it incredibly efficient. Under the 2024 spellcasting rules, you can cast both a leveled spell with your action and your free once per day Divine Favor with a bonus action on the same turn, because only one of them is using a spell slot. A powerful opening is to cast Bless to support your party and then activate Divine Favor on yourself, entering the next turn fully buffed and ready to unleash a Radiant Flurry. Nailed it, buddy. Out of combat prowess. Beyond combat, the Inquisitor is a master of uncovering secrets with expertise and key skills, a wisdom bonus to social checks, and the ability to subtly cast Zone of Truth with debilitating effects on vulnerable targets. You are the ultimate truth seeker. Truth Seeker's Gaze provides an unparalleled utility for exploration and investigation, allowing you to find foes, traps, and clues no one else can. Yeah, you nailed it. I delivered and executed very well and elegantly, right? And I want to comment on a few things just about the structure of the wording he used. First off, you can tell that he went and copied the structure of the spellcasting feature right out of the Arcane Trickster or Eldritch Knight, so it matches exactly the way WotC phrased all of this, which makes it easier to use, right? When you match wording that we're already used to, that means we don't have to reread it all. That saves everybody time and brain space, okay? So love that. Well done. The one thing I would have suggested maybe on this one is that instead of using this term X-ray vision, which is a term I guess some people may understand or a lot of people may understand if they've ever seen Superman, right? But it probably would have been better to copy the language they used in the Eldritch invocation from the Warlocks. I don't think that that invocation has been updated in 2024 yet. In fact, it's not. I'm sure now that I think about it more. It came out in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It was called the Ghost Site or something like that. Maybe a Witch Site? It's one of those. And it allowed you to see through walls and things like that. I would have copied that language just so that it was the same language already used somewhere else in the game. I can't overstate the benefit of doing that, right? It helps all of us who've already read that language to parse and process something else faster using less mental energy, which this game takes a ton of mental energy. So anything that preserves mental energy is great, right? Because this is actually a game and you're supposed to play and have fun, not just sit there and exercise your brain. I mean, I love that it exercises your brain. That's one of the things I love about D&D. But that's not the reason we do it. The reason we do it is for fun. But that's kind of a minor criticism, you know? Pretty minor, right? Like I immediately got what that was. And anybody, like, I don't know who hasn't ever seen anything about Superman. I mean, people from other cultures, you know, right? I'm not familiar with every culture in the world. I'm an IT guy, right? I'm not that well traveled. So I have to imagine that there are plenty of cultures where people, you know, maybe aren't familiar with Superman or anything like that. And maybe they won't recognize that term. And maybe that term won't translate to other languages well. So if anybody tries to use like an auto translate or Google Translate on this, and that Google Translate translates X-ray vision to something that just makes no sense in their language, that might be, you know, kind of a problem. But again, minor issues. Even if they don't understand it, I bet they could just Google X-ray vision and then they'll get, you know, all kinds of results saying Superman, this and that, and then they'll immediately get what is going on. So not at all a big deal. As far as overall, I did tell him, and I'm going to reiterate this here. In fact, I'm going to bring this up because I mentioned to him that I think that this gets more than the Arcane Trickster gets, okay? But I don't know that it's more powerful. let me kind of go through a quick comparison and see if I can explain that a little better. Right. So, okay, spellcasting virtually identical, except the Arcane Trickster gets an extra cantrip, which is Mage Hand. Other than that, same number of spells, same spell progression, everything same. The Arcane Trickster gets the Wizard spell list. The Inquisitor Rogue gets the Cleric spell list. Now, Guidance is a better cantrip for a rogue than probably anything that any other cantrip that the wizard has, and it would be even better than the Mage Hand cantrip for sure if the Arcane Trickster Rogue didn't get some enhancements to the Mage Hand. All right, so let's call the and the other thing I guess I should say is at low levels, the Wizard spell list might be better for the Arcane Trickster than the Cleric spell list. Like Absorb Elements and Shield might be better. Those are probably better at better defenses for you than even Uncanny Dodge that you get. What is it, level 5, something like that? I mean, the Inquisitor can put Shield of Faith on themselves. I don't know. Maybe that's okay. The Inquisitor Rogue can just heal themselves as a bonus action if they need to, right? And so instead of like preventing damage, they just heal the damage. I don't know. I think the Wizard spell list at spell levels 1 and 2 is probably a little better for the Rogue than the Cleric spell list. Now, and I mean specifically for the Rogue themselves, okay? But his clear intention, as stated in the design notes for the Inquisitor Rogue, is to not just be a damage-dealing rogue, but to actually be kind of a support rogue and a healing rogue. Yes, which, of course, when you have access to the Cleric spell list, that's what you're getting. So you're going to be a far better healer support than you ever could be as an Arcane Trickster with the Wizard spell list, right? So kind of a wash. When you get spell level 3, when they're level 13, you get Spirit Guardians for the Rogue, that's going to be a big deal. But the Arcane Trickster also gets Haste, which is a huge deal for the Rogue. So it's hard to say that either one of these is better, right? They're going to give you very different play styles, which I love. One thing I don't like for game design is creating a subclass for the same class that plays exactly the same as this other subclass for that class. Like if you create two subclasses that play exactly the same for a class, then there's no point in having both of those. You created two options that are the same. That's pointless, right? You could have just had one and just reflavored it, and now you got a different fantasy you're living, even though the mechanics play the same. Okay, so this is going to play very different. Love it. All right, let's move down to the features, though, besides spellcasting now, okay? I mean, this gets the Inquisitor Rogue has this embedded enhancement that the Arcane Trickster doesn't have, which is they can use a simpler martial weapon as a spellcasting focus. That's going to help them slightly. The Arcane Trickster is going to have some problems in the sense that they can't be wielding two weapons, right? They can't hold something in each hand. They've got to have one hand free to access their arcane focus, or they have to have Warcaster, which you might want anyway. So that's a benefit for the Inquisitor. Then the Divine Inquiry, they get the 2 extra skill proficiencies, which is a big deal for rogues, as I said, or expertise, which actually isn't as big of a deal for rogues. So it's okay that you don't get both proficiency and expertise. You just get proficiency or expertise with these. And then you get Divine Favor. Okay, so what does the Arcane Trickster get? They get Mage Hand Legerdemain, which is when you cast Mage Hand, you can cast it as a bonus action. You can make it spectral, invisible, and you can control it as a bonus action. And you can also use it to make sleight of hand checks with the Mage Hand at range, right? So that's a ribbon. I mean, it's a cool ribbon. I literally have never once seen a player use that feature. I mean, they've used Mage Hand, never to try to do a sleight of hand, never for anything except to attempt Versatile Trickster, and they were level 13 or 20. I can't remember which one it was. But I see Arcane Tricksters all the time. Like every week there's an Arcane Trickster in one of my games. So I see it a lot, and I've never seen any player ever attempt to use Mage Hand Legerdemain ever. Not once. So that is a super ribbon. And the Inquisitor gets, not ribbons. So they're getting more than the Arcane Trickster. Is your net power more? Technically, yes, but it's probably in a way that's not noticeable. Okay. Unyielding Interrogator, they get more kind of like this is all the non-combat enhancements they're getting. The Magical Ambush, the Arcane Trickster's getting, right? This is actually a mechanically beneficial feature they're getting instead of just a ribbon like they got at 3rd level, and that's that they can cause disadvantage on any saving throw against one of their spells if they're hidden. So that's actually pretty good, right? And you might say, well, this is kind of similar. No, they only get that disadvantage on Zone of Truth and only if the person's already grappled. And by the way, Zone of Truth has no combat functionality, right? It is a non-combat feature. If you cast that in the middle of combat, the rest of your party's gonna be like, what? Why are you interrogating somebody in the middle of combat? Okay, so those are not equal. Magical Ambush is way more powerful than Unyielding Interrogator, but you are getting more features from an Unyielding Interrogator. Now, Magical Ambush is both valuable in and out of combat, right? Because you could be hidden and cast Charm Person, and cause disadvantage because you want to charm somebody and then go into a social encounter with them. That's kind of a lot of rigmarole that you could just get around if you just cast Enhance Ability on yourself, because you don't have to like charm them. You can just cast Enhance Ability and then you have advantage on all charisma checks for an hour. Okay, so that's the way to go as a Arcane Trickster. All right, so level 3, the Inquisitor was ahead of the Arcane Trickster. Level 9, I'd say the Arcane Trickster catches back up. Now they're neck and neck. Yes, the Unyielding Interrogator gives them some benefits to those charisma skill checks, but remember, Arcane Trickster has access to just Enhance Ability, and they can just have advantage on all those checks, like every charisma check, regardless of whether or not you're proficient. Okay, which might beat this, right? In some situations, that's going to be better. In some situations, this is going to be better. Hard to say. So they're definitely neck and neck at this point. Level 13, Versatile Trickster. This is one that I thought was a cool idea, but it is just not very good. I've seen a total of 1 player attempt to use it. He used it multiple times in the session, and it was always kind of like I think he succeeded at tripping an additional creature like a few times, and it always just was like the value of causing somebody to be prone heavily depends on initiative order, right? And I think in several of those instances, he tripped somebody, and they, the one that the mage hand tripped, and they succeeded. It was their turn, like in 1 or 2 turns, and then they just stood back up. So, cool idea, pretty disappointing. Now, Truthseeker's Gaze is all non-combat, but it's great for exploration, so cool. Advantage on investigation and perception checks, cool. You can't have it all the time. It's literally for 1 minute. Wisdom modifier times per day. Again, Arcane Trickster, Enhance Ability, and you have advantage on all perception checks for an hour. All wisdom checks for an hour. That's insight, wisdom, animal handling, right? So you're getting, or if you want to put it on your intelligence, then it's investigation, arcana, nature, history, religion, every knowledge check. So it seems like the Inquisitor Rogue is getting more features, but I don't think they're more powerful, actually. And I made the comment when we were talking about this to Conrad, in Discord, that I was like, oh, I think that this is a little more powerful than the Arcane Trickster. But upon further analysis and consideration, I do not think this is more powerful than the Arcane Trickster. I think it does a great job of being like neck and neck, equal in power, but very different in play style, very different in design, very different role that you're going to deliver for the party. And that is more, one of the most important things to me, right? You're going to be a rogue who's like support and healing, and the Arcane Trickster is a rogue who's got some control and self-buffing. Very different things. Level 17, Heretic's Bane. Same kind of theme. The Arcane Trickster's got Spell Thief. This is a very cool ability, and they enhanced it in 2024 so that you can keep trying until you successfully steal something. So that's great because it really needed that. It was a terrible feature before. Just try once and then fail and be like, well, that's my capstone for the day. The fact that you can steal a spell, or you can even steal a spell from an ally, and then you can cast that spell for the next 8 hours. Cool idea. Is it super powerful? No, not super powerful. You're still a 1/3 spellcaster. You know, if you happen to steal a 4th level spell, great. You can cast it once in the whole day. If you steal a 3rd level spell, which is probably what you should go for, at least you get to do it 3 times. So at least you can cast, that whatever spell you stole for 3 times in a day. I don't know what you'd want to steal. Spirit Guardians would come to mind, but is that better than haste? I don't know. I don't know what would be worth stealing that you'd really, really want to try to get that spell. Like the main use of this is really actually preventing the person from casting spell. It's like a free counter spell. So good feature, not super strong, but your spell casting is your main strength. Same thing with the Inquisitor Rogue. Heretic's Bane is cool. Got some enhancement things you're going to use, and when they work, it's going to feel great and cool. I love that one of them is like, it doesn't even actually have to work, right? You just enhance your damage with Divine Favor, so that's great. Blinding Strike, that one has to work, and when it does, that's going to feel cool, and it's going to feel cool that it didn't cost you anything, so you'll just use it more often. Like I don't see rogues using their Cunning Strike very often because they just don't want to sacrifice the sneak attack dice. Guys, like 3.5 damage to cause like a debilitating condition on the enemy is worth it. Like give up the 3.5 damage. So I love to see this just saying, okay, let's make that damage 0 for one of the options, and then we'll just see this rogue use that feature all the time. Like, why not? It costs you nothing. Use it on every sneak attack. Great. Treat Piercing Sight. Yeah, cool feature. So I'd say, honestly, all the way through, equal in power. I bet if somebody's playing an Arcane Trickster Rogue and you're playing an Inquisitor in the same party, and like the Arcane Trickster's like looking at your character sheet and comparing things, the Arcane Trickster's probably saying things like, wait, you got more features than I did. If you think about the spells and spell lists and the different things you have, the Inquisitor is not more powerful than you are, right? You've got enhanceability, the Inquisitor does not. They've got guidance, which can help them in some situations. You don't, but you could get guidance easily with like Magic Initiate, right? They are not more powerful. Yes, they might have more quantity of features. They do not add up to more power than what you have. So, Comrade Warners, well done. This is well designed, well executed, very cool, and I think it'll be equally fun to play as the Arcane Trickster, but not more powerful, not less powerful, equally fun in different ways. That's what we're looking for with everything in the game. That's how everything in the game should work. You want it to be equally powerful in a different way. If you like the subclass and you want to look at more stuff from Comrade Warners, you can see a link to his Patreon in the description of this video. And thanks for watching. Remember that if you don't have D&D in your life, you can find me on Discord. The link to my username in Discord in the video as well, and the link to my profile, and start playing games. If you want to play games with me, if you join my Discord server, you can find other people posting their games. If you're a DM and looking for players, you can post your games there too. Remember to be cool when you play D&D. It is a game. The only point of it is to have fun with your friends, right? So be cool. These people are your friends, or they could become your friends. And who doesn't need more friends? Catch you next time.